Alrighty, welcome back to Hit the Gap. First time in what feels like nearly a month at this stage. Well, it is. It's been a month since we've done an episode. Been pretty busy the last couple of weeks between moving and whatnot. Yeah, there'll be a bit of a different setup. I know I was talking about it for a while, but a bit of a different setup in the next episode. Things should be back to normal in some sense, but both of us in the same spot and whatnot. But how's the last month of footy been treating you, Mitchy?
I'll tell you what, we've had some absolute blinders. There's been some incredible games of football. I think more specifically, we're probably all going to hear about the Panthers and Bulldogs game from this week gone. But we've seen some pretty incredible results, like the Titans flogging the Eagles a couple of weeks back.
Yeah.
And then also I think we also saw the as much as I don't want to bring it up, the Dolphins winning 3 games in a row by 50 or more points, and one of them being the Cowboys. So
absolutely hammering us to then go and lose to the Knights or whoever it was. So yeah, definitely been a bunch of good games, and one of those being State of Origin, the decider really, or it was the decider at the time for New South Wales at least. Queensland getting the win in that one, having a stellar first half, which then turned into a pretty average scoreathon down To'o's wing, unfortunately, but the boys managed to hang on. So that's next week. We'll have the decider down in Sydney there, but we'll probably touch on that after we talk about this week's or last week's games and this week's games rather. So we might even jump straight into that. Like you were just saying, the Panthers versus Bulldogs game, that was the first one of the round this weekend just been. And, I mean, if you tip the Panthers,
Edge of seat stuff. Edge of seat stuff. Holy, what a game.
Yep. For the game it was quite low scoring, but for both teams playing, really, it was almost, I don't want to say it was the B-grade Panthers again, because they had most of their origin stars back anyway, but after a hard couple of weeks, they really put in a solid effort. I mean, Cleary not struggling, but carrying that either quad or hamstring problem. I think he has, doesn't he?
Yeah, that is it's a hamstring. It is for Cleary. Yeah. I think the big one for me with this game was that it's clear to see just how much these two teams have watched each other's games. Like, they must have done so much tape. I can't imagine how much tape these guys have done on each other, because it was such a well controlled. Yeah, like it was just very well controlled by each team. The fact that the Panthers only scored 1 try off like a very, very, like it was literally just the most random little mistake from one of the Bulldogs defenders, and Cleary sneaks in for a try, and no one else could get a try. So I mean, the Preston try made a lot of sense in a way, but I don't think anyone saw it only going to be a single digit figure game, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And when you touch on that, watching tape and that, it probably does help that a quarter of the Bulldogs team have been part of winning Panthers teams the last couple of years and that. So
and then Origin on top of that as well. They probably all practiced together and they know what each other's going to do now. So
yeah, exactly. It would have helped the Bulldogs, but also the Panthers to a lesser extent in this one, because we know Bulldogs have had a better run so far this year. But yeah, Panthers really managing to turn it around, which is kind of scary to think. A team that was sitting like last a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month and a bit ago, is now sitting in the 8 still, I'm pretty sure. Albeit the bottom side of the 8, but still entrenched in the 8. So.
And they've got a bye this week, but it's going to be interesting to see how they go. See how they go the week after that.
Yeah, exactly.
They're really starting to sort of turn those screws back, and I think it's going to be very interesting to watch the rest of the season for both the Penrith Panthers and the Bulldogs collectively.
I agree, especially coming off the bye, and that'll be rep footy done for now anyway until the end of season, so everyone will be ready and raring to bring it home for the rest of the year. Yeah. We'll jump onto the Friday games though, so Manly versus the Tigers. Luai
bad as expected.
Yeah, Luai are laid out in this one, I believe, but and funny enough, not for Igouge and Cotter in Origin, but like you did just mention, they're probably about as expected. The boys just not really. I mean, they don't have such a strong combination, but they've been thrown up in the air a fair bit. I think Coruscant got named in the halves, and Dewey ended up moving there as well.
Yeah, as a result of Appy getting absolutely sent to the Shadow Realm.
Yeah.
He got knocked the frick out, bro. Oh my goodness, I'm pretty sure he was out on the ground, and then when he got up, you could see that he was over. It was well and truly over.
Seeing stars, yeah, which will then obviously play a part moving forward in terms of having concussion and that. But Manly a team that really need to start stringing wins together. So do the Tigers, but Manly more so because they've got more of a shot of actually making the 8 this year. Need to start stringing wins together. So for them, probably a good start. I mean, 28 points to 10 is it's a decent win. It's not a massive margin, mind you, considering, but still quite a solid win for them. So I think for the Eagles,
I have to say the Eagles, they're very underwhelming, aren't they? I mean, look, this was a pretty convincing win, but it's the Tigers without their halves, and their fullback. They were really truly undermanned in this game. But this was I think the one person I do want to sort of look at here is Corey Waddell. I think he had an absolute fantastic game. Picked himself up a try as well.
Yeah.
But I think him at hooker was stellar in this game. It really showed that he was there to game. DCE, man, both DCE and Brooks. I don't know what's going on. They're falling pretty short. I don't know what is happening with that combination, but it's lucky that they were versing the Tigers. Put it that way.
It's been very up and down ever since he announced he was leaving at the end of the season. So, and I mean, obviously the narrative was that it was going to affect his game, and whether that is what's affecting his game or not,
especially the Origin as well. The Origin kicking.
Yeah, exactly right. It does seem that. I mean, that's right. Might not be that at all, but does seem to have taken some sort of toll, especially with his combination there at Clubland. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win, if they're not winning, they don't have someone in the wings ready to have a go. They might sit him down or give him a spell, or even like we did with Townsend toward the end of last year, and give whoever possibly is taken over from him, or might be the understudy rather, because they've obviously got Fogarty coming next year as well.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, realistically, it's a bit of a dead rubber season for them. I think they're just going to ride it out until if they play finals, then sweet. But if they don't, then it doesn't really matter. Focus on what happens with Fogarty at that point.
Moving on, that's exactly right. And talking about moving on, we'll move on to the second game, a lot more closer.
Which also involves Fogarty.
Yeah, quite interesting. The Raiders versus the Knights, or Knights versus Raiders in Newcastle there. 18 points to 22, so Raiders only sort of narrowly escaping with this one. Again, probably much like the Raiders do or have done it many times this year, they look quite solid and like they'd had it in the bag, and then just toward the end there, or really the second half anyway, Knights staging a bit of a comeback and almost getting there.
Yeah, and I think this was a strange one to actually watch as well, because it was almost like they felt like they had it convincingly in the bag. It was what I think it was 18-0 or something like that. I want to say
it was
It was or 18 or 16-0, something like that. And then they were like, okay, this feels pretty convincing. They're not putting up a fight. Let's just try random shit. Like they were. It felt like they were literally just trying random shit. And then it bit him in the arse a little bit, because obviously Schiller was up against Jed, and Jed is still new to first grade defense.
Yeah, exactly.
And Schiller's not exactly, he hasn't exactly had many games himself, but he's good enough to really make you look slow. That's the thing.
Yeah,
he's a very quick kid. Very quick.
Exactly right. Coming from that Raiders system as well, he probably has a bit of an idea. I mean, he hasn't been away that long, so he probably has a bit of an idea of how they set up and what some of their plays are or whatever. So he's got a bit of that head start on how to defend and attack rather. But you're not wrong.
I think he really made them pay. Like, and this was supposed to be a Knights team that had no chance. Defeated. They've got no Sharp. They've got no Hunt.
Lost Ponga as well midway
lost
through.
Lost Ponga mid game. Yeah, it was. Yeah, this was a
rough.
This was a like almost guaranteed loss for them. And even though they did lose, they made it look like they didn't lose at all. So they should be happy with that. But still a W for the Raiders.
And Raiders with still with 2 buys to go this year are still sitting fairly entrenched right up top there. So
you'd have to probably even say they will probably end up as first as a result
minor
of
premiers or something.
Minor premiers as a result of having 2 buys left.
Or after the buys, yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, that's basically 2 free games, 4 points for them there. So as long as they can string together a few more wins, that's right. It's them and the Dogs, because the Warriors are in a bit of hot water now, which we'll move on to Saturday's games. Broncos versus Warriors, they're up in Brisbane. A little bit of a shellacking, not as big of a shellacking as the week before the Broncos dished out, but...
speaking of hot water, did someone turn the heat up on this one or what?
Yeah, just unfortunate. Poor Metcalf, who's started slow, had a bit of a slow start of the season and just absolutely brained it. Really orchestrated a lot of what the Warriors have done this year, I think, in my opinion, especially with that combination with Chanel Harris-Tavita. But sustaining an ACL, I believe, was it? He did his ACL, so another ACL from the Warriors. You got Barnett gone, and now their main playmaker, which really, really throws things up in the air for them.
I mean, to make things even worse, right? I mean, like, it's bad enough that, Wateni's out for another 4 or 5 weeks with a fucked up ankle from last week.
It's their main try scorer, point
that's
scorer,
one of their main point scorers. Barney, one of their main lead runners for the forwards. He's done an ACL. Metcalf has now done his ACL, and then on top of that, Chance does his knee as well. I think he picked up an LCL, so he's out for about 5 or 6 weeks too.
Yeah, exactly.
So no fullback, no 8 prop, no 2 winger, no 6 or 7 rather. Like it's a tragedy for the Warriors. I don't know what I can't. I mean, just looking at their run. For the next 5 games, and they're going to be cooked for longer, obviously, because of the halves. But just looking at their run for the next 5 games, that's they've got the bye, and then what's the next ones? Like, you're looking at Tigers, that's easy. What's the next one? Well, actually, is it even easy anymore? I don't even think it's easy anymore. I think they're under the pump now, because then they've got to face the Knights. Knights have already beaten them once this year. 21, they're facing the Titans. Titans have a very good chance of beating them right at the moment.
Yeah, they're probably pretty lucky. They've done it before in terms of having those reserves there. So Tamari Martin's obviously coming straight into the halves, or even possibly fullback. But you think Tane Tuapiki goes back to fullback?
I would say Tuapiki fullback, 100%.
Yeah, brained it before, done quite a job. So they've got some ready-made players, but they just don't offer. Well, they're not.
It's the trade-off,
Yeah,
it's the trade-off. It's like, damn.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's not 1-for-1, unfortunately, for the Warriors. But not to take anything away from the Broncos. Broncos did have quite a decent game as well. Walsh, even though he's still carrying that knee or dealing with that knee injury, I think starting to make a bit of a comeback or stage a comeback to what we were seeing from him last year. He's not as quiet and he's getting involved in a lot more. Not making as many errors and stuff there, but... Yeah, Broncos seem to be just in time or at the right time of year anyway.
Shibasaki.
Yeah,
wow.
Shiba. Yep, the goatee, the great goatee.
Yeah.
Goatee's out. Talk about soon. After having such a solid season and being I think he's on a train and trial contract with the Broncos there. He's played almost, if not every game they've had this year so far. He's had a stellar season, and that's earned him a centre position in Origin.
So imagine being on a train and trial and then playing Origin the same year, bro. Well, that is, and it's Origin. The decider as well. Like that, they have that much faith in you. Like that is a statement and a half.
Your Origin match payment is like a quarter of your yearly wage or something. You can afford to take a few weeks off. Good stuff from Shibasaki, but also the Broncos there for sure. The next Saturday game, Dragons versus Eels. Now this one was a bit closer than anyone probably would have thought it would be. You know what I mean? Dragons getting back their Origin stars. So Val back, who had a phenomenal game, I think, to his standard. He's been hot and cold this year so far, but setting up a bunch of tries in this one, just absolutely running amok, and then scoring a couple right at the end there too, or toward the end rather. Flanagan and Lycan King Tongia, they seem to be coming along really well. It's taken a little bit, but a much better pairing than what it was with Ilias, it would seem. So
the question is, what are they going to do about the wing? They have a bit of a situation now. they went into this game. Tuipulotu, he's finally coming back. This will be his first game back, and then he gets injured, and he injures the same hamstring in the warm up.
Yep.
So he's out for another 4 weeks apparently.
Right, it is 4.
They've said 4, so 21, 22 likely. And then so they bring in Nathan Lawson, who they've got Nathan Lawson ready to go, which is awesome. He comes in, and I think it was one of his tries in like the 20th or 30th minute or something like that. He does his shoulder, so he's out until 22 as well. So I've no idea what they're actually going to do for the wingers. Is there maybe? Well, I mean, I know what they're going to do about this week, especially because then they can't even like flex and put Val in there or anything like that. They're going to have to, and they've got no. Oh my God, they've got no other second rower to put next to Val either. So because Leilua is injured till 1920. So
Yep.
Oh man, that's a very injury-stricken squad.
There's definitely going to be a few fellas making their debut. It sounds like anyway from lower grade, reserve grade. So be a bit of an opportunity for them by the sounds. But just coming back and returning to a bit of form against the Eels, who weren't super underwhelming in my opinion, but they just still seem to be struggling a little bit without Moses. Like that Hawkins-Brown combination, it doesn't go as well as Hawkins and his name's escaping me at the moment, but he did quite well the week before. Joash Papali'i.
Yeah, Joash, yeah.
Which, I mean, the combination from those two early on, or even the week prior, was insanity. So it's just a thing where I think, unfortunately for the Eels, now that Brown's back as well, specifically, they're just going to have to wait till Moses comes back to get a little bit of go forward or a little bit of form, solid form. Yeah.
See, I think the Eels as well, they can really probably I think they can do fine with either Joash or Dean Hawkins and Dylan Brown, whichever one of those combinations they want to go to while Moses is out. I think they can and will be fine if they can fix their hooker situation. I feel like Lussick and I feel like Walker makes a big impact whenever he comes on, which is fantastic, but he can only play like 20-30 minutes.
Yeah.
They really need to sort of figure out what to do with Lussick, whether it's he needs to maybe play the ball faster. I'm not 100% sure what the go is with Hooker, but they seem very like, even if you look at the average play of the ball, like it's very slow compared to any of the top teams. That's where I think they fall behind.
As well for them here too, they are sort of throwing whoever they've got in hooker at the moment. They have had Riley Smith it's been the last 2 or 3 months, probably 2 months at least, and he's done really well. He's come a long way, especially from the start of the season.
Absolutely.
Improved in leaps and bounds. But yeah, that's right, with that suspension, I think he's got a decent suspension till like round 20 or something. They're just having to go back to the well a bit, and they're virtually back in the position they were in last year, which was, like you just said, not really having a hooker or needing to figure out what they're going to do in the hooker position.
Figure it out, sort of thing. Yeah, I think Moses and Smith are not due back until 20. So I think Bailey Simonson's apparently 20 now as well.
Yep.
So I think he was originally looking at 19, but they'll be 20 now. So
yep. So
it's a tough one.
Couple more weeks without them to just sort of try and get by. The last Saturday game, though, talking earlier about the Dolphins absolutely putting a 50 burger on. They put a 50 burger on Rabbitohs, who in this one were just, I don't know, a little bit in all sorts. I mean, especially considering the week prior when they played Melbourne, and we saw AJ absolutely run amok and really tick over those tries toward his Ken Irvine record, or breaking that Ken Irvine record. They really shut him down in this one.
Big time. See, this one was funny because they invested the Finns invested so much effort into shutting down AJ. That Tallis goes in twice in 2 minutes. It was so funny.
Yeah, exactly right. And a blinder, good thing you mentioned that too. I nearly forgot about that. A blinder from Duncan on the other edge there. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, man was absolutely Johnny on the spot. It was fantastic to watch him actually being such a strong support, like second rower.
And actually being ready. That's right.
Yeah, that's it. Like he was playing second row to a T. You know.
Yeah.
He's a player that you wouldn't actually mind having as a 9, like a backup 9 sort of thing, because he's so Johnny on the spot. He's ready to go always.
Even like he has had a decent run at lock. At lock, he's been playing since he debuted. So not done too bad there, but I think just minutes wise and that this sort of positional putting him on the edge has really let him unlock his potential and get a bit more use, or Wayne's getting a bit more use out of him. So yeah,
it's almost like he's taken on like a Campbell Graham sort of like esque like build as well. Like he's gotten very strong over the last 2 seasons. So
big body, lanky body, but
very big and lanky,
strong as well to boot. So, but yeah, Dolphins again, not to really disregard them, but yeah, Katoa again, masterclass as always.
We can talk about Katoa the whole podcast. I reckon, like he's
almost every.
I know
week,
every
really.
podcast and every rugby related show at the moment is doing that already. So we'll try and avoid it. But
Katoa and Herbie.
I tell you what, he is something stellar. I think he is definitely one of the new people to watch for the future as well. I think he's just an outstanding 7. He watches. It's like he watches the game like no other.
Yeah, and being the understudy to Cleary as well when they first started their run or their reign, it would have really helped because you can see it's starting to the first year or two. It's sort of he did a little bit, but he just wasn't. He needed that bit more time. Now that they're a couple years in, it's really starting to implement, or he's implementing all that stuff he's learned and all his ability. Real student of the game there, or the halves anyway. Just the way he handles himself and sets up like lead runners and stuff like that, or even just getting ready for a kick. Like
he's really needed people to play off him too.
Yeah, exactly right.
Now that's starting to glue really well.
Yeah, exactly right. So. Yeah, I mean, like you said, you talk about him for ages. We usually do, most people do, but yeah, him and Herbie always killing it for the Dolphins, continually killing it for the Dolphins. They've lost a few players, and another one in Bostock done his ACL, another ACL.
I was just glancing the injury ward, and I tell you what, it is unreal to see the amount of ACL injuries across the entire NRL right now.
Yeah, it is tragic. I mean, we had an epidemic last year, it seemed, or the last couple of years of hamstrings and calves and a couple ACLs and that. But you're right, it does seem to be a lot of ACL related injuries.
Very knee this year. Very knee.
But yeah, good stuff from the Dolphins. We'll have a look at the Sunday games here: Storm versus Sharks, and yeah, I tipped the Storm in this one. I know we have seen the Storm sort of have an up and down season all year, but I can't have faith in the Sharks anymore. I know they're.
I was going to say, speaking of up and down seasons.
Yeah, they're more down than they are up. The games they should be winning, they lose, and the games you think they're going to lose. I'm pretty sure I said this a couple of weeks ago. Anyway, games they're surefire to lose. They just somehow pull it out and get the win on them. Yeah.
And it's usually off the back of Trindle going ham as well. And taking the reins off Nico. But this time, this game in particular was kind of interesting to watch because Trindle did have a really strong start to this game, and then they let it go. In fact, they let it go in a stellar fashion. They just stopped playing almost.
Yeah, they did what the Sharks seem to do. Unfortunately for Sharks fans, sorry, but all year, it's just something where they should be winning it or should be on top of it, and they just, I don't know, whatever happens, and they just don't. I don't know. I don't know what to say for the Sharks. They should be much higher on the ladder, and they should have much more consistency than what they do. But yeah,
I mean, considering their buys and stuff too, like it just hasn't really lined up the way it should have for them.
Yeah, exactly. And then back to like the saying you like to say earlier in the year, no hero, no win. Like you can't just rely on one player, but they're not really putting as many points on. Hero's not there, and then Hiroti, who sort of filled in for him, who's also now not there. I don't know. I just
another injury.
Yeah, they just seem to find it hard piling points on anymore. Unfortunately, the Sharks are at the moment. So yeah, we'll see where they land toward the end of the season. But yeah, another solid win for the Storm there. Hughes had an absolute blinder of a game. I know.
I think the bright side for the Sharks as well is that they do get Stone Street back next week. Well, this week actually. They get him back this week.
Yep.
So that frees Katoa to go back into the centres.
Yep.
But I don't think they get even Hiroti back until 2021, and they don't get Iro back until like the last game of the season, probably. I reckon. So
I think was Iro a Peck or something? It was a long-term one anyway. It was a longer-term one rather.
Yeah, Iro is a really nasty full pector. So he's he's cooked. He's cooked
season ending. Season ending.
They may even still take him off the season. Let's be honest.
Yeah, exactly right. So hopefully not for his sake and for the Sharks' sake, but yeah, exactly. So they need to find a way around it without those guys there, unfortunately. But yeah,
it's like I said though, no error, no win. So I think they're cooked for. I think they're cooked.
Seems to be ringing true, unfortunately. Last game of the round was Titans vs Cowboys down at Cbus Super Stadium on the Gold Coast there. Cowboys with another narrow win as opposed to a shellacking against them. 30 points to 24 in the end, but the started a lot better. Cowboys at the start, I would say, looked like they were in it. They were all in it, and Titans without Jaden Campbell, couple players there. He would have thought it would have been an easy one to contain them, but I guess maybe the opposite of what happened up here when we played them earlier in the season. They didn't catch us, nearly caught us, but they just started piling the points on right toward the end there, like we've seen many a time. Cowboys have that good attack and they can get a bit of a lead or something if they do, but just seem to leak points. And I mean,
someone must have said something nasty to AJ after the 50-minute mark, I reckon, because he started just going off his nut, being everywhere. Yeah, after that,
and that's when he's playing at fullback, man. That's exactly what he does. Like, unfortunately for him, they're probably, I don't want to say better, but more suited rather to the team, more suited fullbacks. But he's just such a stellar fullback when he gets in there, and he's all effort. He's just so hard to contain. I mean, even the try that he scored was probably pretty lucky, really. It was a little bit of a Dearden blunder, but the fact that he was there for it, like right at that perfect moment to get that bounce off Dearden's hands and just place it down, that's the stuff you don't see from most other players, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's all effort, you know?
Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, nearly coming back and snatching it toward the end there again. It could have been one of them things where if there was another 5 to 10 minutes, or even if they had a Jaden Campbell there in the halves, it very well likely could have been a different story to what the end result was. But and
even looking at some of the star power they're actually missing is sort of like if they had their full squad, is it a different, like no Kenny either.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly right. So. Yeah, we will see. Moving forward, I guess, with the Titans. They're another one, unfortunately for them. I think they're probably a bit too far gone, or they're sort of just stuck, entrenched down toward the bottom of the ladder, which is scary because they're not that far behind us. But Cowboys sort of just getting away with the win there in that one. Drinkwater, I will say, I think Drinkwater had an all-time game. It was good to see that halves pairing of Dearden and Clifford back, obviously in alternate positions to how they started the season, but it just gave us a lot more options for that combination. You had two kickers then, one that can do some long-range kicks and quite solid kicks, but both decent ball runners or both good ball runners, as well as
Tom's short kicking game was actually not too bad this game as well.
I agree. Yeah, after that Origin game, the Origin 2, he's been practicing, but I think it was quite solid, 10 metres out from the line and stuff like that, or even little chips. Yeah, you're exactly right. So, very, very good. Good signs, positive signs, but still worrying signs in terms of defence.
Still worrying, yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll jump on to this week's games, do a quick tip for each game in this one. Friday, first up, we've got the Bulldogs and Broncos. Who you got for this one?
Yeah, this one is an interesting one for me. I think the big one for me is that they've got no Kurt Mann, they've got no Kiraz, they've got no King, and they've got no Crichton for the Dogs. So they're going to be missing quite a lot on that right edge.
Yeah.
I think the only people who are going to be out on that side of the field is I think Shib. I know Shiba's on the other side, so. Yeah, it's gonna be a tough one. I think they're gonna have to really try and temper Oh, actually, because there's no. That's right, because they got no Carrigan though. Ooh.
Broncos are probably just as Origin affected, or close to. But in my
Close
opinion,
to.
anyway, I'm going to tip Broncos in this one, just because I think the reserves or people that are filling in are probably just that
much
little
better,
step
right?
above.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like Jensen,
actually
you can't
agree with
argue with
that.
Jensen coming in for a Haas or something like that. And then even in your centres there, you've got Mariner, the likes of Mariner and etc. Walsh obviously being 18th man's not there, but they've been without him for a little while. So Cobbo's coming back into the fullback, and even though he didn't set the world alight, he did quite solid there. A month or 2 months ago when he was there. So I just think their replacements, the Broncos' replacements, are just a bit more.
I think
solid.
the Broncos are going to surprise people here. I agree. I think they're definitely going to surprise people a bit here.
Get the job done. It is down in Sydney, but I mean, whether that plays.
Well, actually, no. I think that makes more sense that the Broncos win because it's going to be raining.
Which we saw that last game. And the Dogs just could not handle it. It was the exact opposite to what we'd seen in years gone with the Dogs sort of gameplay. So
the last time Dogs played Broncos in the rain earlier this season too, and the Broncos slaughtered them as a result.
Yeah, they did. That was that first one. They got absolutely hammered. So, Broncos for me in that one, I think.
Yeah, I'm going Bronx.
All right, Saturday's games. We've got Raiders, first game. Raiders versus Dragons. Probably pretty standard. I think cut and dry. Raiders, I mean, Dragons aren't super Origin affected. They're only really losing Val, but Raiders, I think, even though
I think it's the injury ward that offsets it more than anything. I think Raiders will flog them.
Yeah, even though we've seen like we spoke about with the Knights and whatnot, they seem to turn off a bit when they get a bit of a lead, or they think it's all too easy. I think they'll probably learn from that a bit, and a bit like we've seen the Storm this year. They have up and down games. I'm pretty certain. I'm confident the Raiders will just sort of tie any loose ends, or at least make a bit of effort there. Well, that's
it's also
at
home
too.
as well, so.
Yeah, exactly right. Papali'i getting the recall to Origin. They're going to be without him, but again, very similar to the Broncos. I think they've just got better replacements, or the replacements that they've got for their Origin stars or people that are out injured at the moment are just a bit more solid, in my opinion. So I think I'll have to go Raiders in this one.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they've still got Horse. They've still got Tarpanay. Simi Sasangi, he's a second rower, but like he may as well be a forward. Same with Hosking, like Hosking, like the Smithies. These are all huge blokes. These are all huge blokes. Ata Mariota as well. He's also huge. They've just got this team of fucking titans, man. I don't know how people can deal with this going into finals as well. So
yeah, getting ready to wear you out. Yeah. Raiders for me in this one.
It's a Raiders one for me by far. I don't see how I don't see how the Dragons can temper that one.
Yeah,
it's gonna have to be some sort of serious capitulation.
Flanagan's gonna have to have the all-time pre and halftime speech, pre-game and halftime speech prepared, I think. Second Saturday game though, Cowboys versus Storm up here at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Now this one, Cowboys are the outsiders for obvious reasons. I mean. We saw what happened last time. We had our key Origin players out, and to a team we probably shouldn't have lost that badly to. But funny enough, it was actually the week after that we played the Storm and got absolutely hammered as well. Storm as well. I think without Munster, without Grant, and Coates, I believe Coates will be gone as well. So we have seen years gone.
I'm very interested to see how this game actually goes, though, because of who's in, and where they've been placed as well. So we're still going Purdue Center.
Yeah,
fantastic. That's great.
Yep.
Duffy 7.
Yeah,
Duffy getting a 7 run. That's also pretty great. I'm happy to see that.
Getting the call back. Yeah.
The interesting part that I'm wanting to see most is the interchange and how we use our interchange here. We get to see Lars and we get to see Michele, and we also get to see Kalepo. Yeah. So we haven't seen Kalepo yet. This will be I think this is debut, I want to say. So
It is, yeah. I think he's a bit on the not old but older side. Playing for the Mackay Cutters. So I think from what I've gathered, because I haven't ever really seen much of him, he's had a little bit of experience around different clubs and that around the league. But I think it's probably more for his utility, so hooking ability. Obviously, they're without Lawton, so Harrison Edwards is going to be the starting hooker. But I have a feeling he'll be like the interchange hooker, basically, in that sort of role. Or if they need him to slide into lock or something like that, he should be able to, by the sounds. So we'll see how that one goes. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't mind seeing them just trial a bunch of different hookers at this point as well. I feel like you may as well. Well,
you're right.
While Robson's
exactly
out.
Right. That's exactly right. They need to, and they need to have some sort of plan, or at least an idea.
Bring them all in, give them all a go. You know,
exactly right. Yep, exactly right. Better to do it now than pre-season.
100%, or even post, like even like late in the season when we need to like definitely get games together, and Robson will be taking the full-time spot anyway. So, I think it's integral to figure it out now. I think.
Yep, exactly right. So I think I'm going to go Cowboys in this one. I mean, outside of my bias, but just the fact we've seen, especially up here toward the middle or end of the season, we've seen the Cowboys get a bit of an upset win over the Storm, and generally they are either just before or just after Origins, and usually the Storm are without their key players, but we've seen. I mean, despite that shellacking down there in Melbourne, we've seen them do it before. So I think this could be probably the upset of the round, in my opinion.
The other thing is, I think there's a few mismatches going on with all the Origin issues as well, which is pretty handy. The other thing that's interesting about this game here in particular is they've got a lot of people playing in some pretty wacky spots.
Yeah.
I think we can potentially exploit that, especially left edge. I think Muzz can get a handle on Grant, and I think I want to say Labert can get a good handle on Joe Chan as well. I'm surprised there must just be that down bad on centers, I guess, that Joe is playing center. So I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. But I think there's definitely merit to there as well.
Usually, I mean, we'd seen him playing on the edge, Joe Chan, the last year or two, but when he got an opportunity. But yeah, you're right. It's for who we've seen prior, you would think they would have someone else waiting in the wings, but whether it's maybe due to injury or something like that, availability, who knows? But you're right. I think it is a bit of a mismatch, which will be favouring us, thankfully. So yeah, I think I'll go Cowboys for that one.
I've got Cows for sure. I also like the idea of Purds versus Meaney. I think that's going to be a good test for Meaney.
It will be, yeah, and also a good test now that he's back for Purdue, back in that centre spot to try and, because he hasn't fired just yet, and he really had that one game, but see if he can regain or round back in that form he had at early season once he started to kick on there at the centre position. So should be a good matchup, most definitely. Sunday's games we'll have a quick squiz. The first game 2 p.m. Roosters versus the Tigers. I don't know. There's not much more to it, really. Roosters, it's got to be Roosters. The Tigers they're still in all sorts, unfortunately. The old Tigers.
Especially with the new Talon Silva, obviously.
Yeah, leaving
as well.
Heading to the Eels, you're right. I think Roosters, obviously, without a couple of Origin stars, Collins and... I'm having such a brain fade at the moment. Toya, Collins, and Watson as well. So, and also I think Angus Crichton
as well, yeah. And Leniu.
And Leniu, you're right. So they are pretty Origin affected. And I mean, I thought that a couple of weeks ago for Game 2, and they somehow ended up pulling out a decent win. So I just think for who they're matched up against here, the Tigers, I just think it'll be maybe not a walk in the park, but yeah, a bit too easy. It's a bit of a mismatch, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's going to be Marky Mark lining up against Port Laulili and the Staines. So it'll be Marky Mark and Rodwell lining up against those two. So they're going to just bully the hell out of them. I think. I don't know how. I don't know how Laulili or Staines has a chance of even containing Mark or Rodwell. I think even Rodwell, he's a very fast young kid. So
exactly right.
I don't see that. That alone. That they already do it to teams, right? They send Marky Mark down at you, and you can't do anything against him because he's so big and strong and fast.
Too athletic. Yeah. I mean, If you're gonna do it, I'd be putting maybe some money on Marky Mark to score 1, 2, or even maybe 3. So,
maybe a Hattie, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder if we're going to start seeing more and more poaching from Union, because like he is a serious athlete.
And we've seen it go the other way, where league stars have gone over to Union and whatever and come back toward the end of their career or a couple of years later. But yeah, he's probably been one of the best pickups so far anyway from Union, I think, for the league. He's even when he debuted last year, he had a good debut, but this year he's just absolutely kicked on. And no matter what position, whether it be centre or wing, he just seems to absolutely kill it.
Put him anywhere. He owns it, man. He's so good.
He'll do a job. That's right. Roosters for me in that one. Sorry, I'll go Roosters. For sure.
This one's for me. It's Roosters by a landslide. I think we're gonna see Roosters with I'm willing to even say it's gonna be like over a 20-point win.
Yeah, unfortunately, sorry Tigers fans.
Sorry, Tigers fans.
just how the cookie crumbles, unfortunately. Last game of the round, though, Sea Eagles versus the Rabbitohs. This one's probably going to be a little bit closer than we'd think, just based on what we have seen. Turbo, I haven't actually had a squeeze. Is Turbo still in the centre spot for this one?
Actually, I forgot to mention about that Tigers game too. They still have no Luai.
Yeah. Yep.
It's I don't know. It's a shambles. Either way,
it's going to be rough. Yeah, it's going to be rough for him, unfortunately. Sea Eagles, obviously Turbo still out in that centre spot, pushing Garrick out to the wing, but I think Rabbitohs they're in all sorts as well. They're another team, a little bit like the Tigers, that are in all sorts. Obviously, Trolls off to Origin. They lose probably their main playmaker or their key playmaker. They get AJ at fullback at the moment, which we've seen him do before, but probably not a ready-to-go fullback, unfortunately. And they're still dealing with Walker. Cody Walker having a possible injury. I mean, or he's either in the extended squad. I'll have a quick look. I've got team list in front of me. Why don't I do that? Instead of rambling on.
He is in the extended, yeah.
He is in the extended, yeah. So Jack Whiten currently in the 5/8 with Humphreys at halfback, but you've also got Lewis Dodd sitting on the interchange, and then that's right, Walker in the reserve. So you've got to think you probably see Walker or Dodd come into the side somewhere there.
I think it'll be Dodd for sure.
Yeah, and Saliva Havili there. He's starting at number 9, but I just can't see him playing too long. I feel like we're probably going to see Mamouzelos start and either Havili move into the front row for a bit or off the bench into the front row. So, yeah, they've just got their own dramas at the moment, unfortunately. The Rabbitohs do with injury, and they've been struck with injury all year, probably even all last year. They've just had horrible luck with that sort of stuff. So,
I actually think we're going to see a bit of an upset with this game, to be honest.
Rabbitohs from the Rabbits.
Yeah, I think the Bunnies are going to beat these Eagles. I have a very weird feeling that we're going to see a slew of tries come in for both AJ and Tyrone Munro. I think their wings are severely mismatched in this game.
Yep. Having Garrick, and that's a bit that, I mean, Garrick's a great centre, but just on the wing, you know what I mean? I don't know how he goes on the wing. I'm sure he can fill in.
Actually, wait, job, no, that's right. Task got named on wing, and AJ's playing fullback in this game. So I think it'll be Tyrone Munro who gets all the points on his side. And Campbell Graham is also, looks like he's back into the starting side now as well.
Yep. Yeah, so I think, God.
This could actually be a close game, to be honest, now that I think about it. I'm still going to go Bunnies. I'm still going to go Bunnies on this. I have a feeling.
The other possibility as well, in which could see them open up a little bit or a little bit more opportunity, is Brandon Smith finally being included in the extended squad. So you could see him as a laid in. Obviously, we've seen him in the front row, or he can play lock or even hookers, where he does quite well too. So his utility could be quite handy. You might even see someone like Dodd or Moale, or probably not Moale, but one of them drop out of the side.
Honestly, it wouldn't actually shock me if we saw Havili move into the forwards and they start Brandon.
Or that's even another possibility. Exactly right. So, yeah. I just think, like I was saying, I think they're just dealing with a bit too much combination drama and a bit too much injury at the moment. The Rabbitohs, they, unfortunately for them, have been for a while. they're a team that probably would be a lot higher if the fact they weren't dealing with the injuries. But as much as they've been plodding, I think the Sea Eagles will probably just get this one done. Myself, it is at Four Pines, so it's a home game for the Sea Eagles. So generally favours them a bit, but we've seen them get railed there as well. So
we have, yeah. It's a very 50-50 game, this one. I think it's a lot closer than anyone at first glance is going to think with this one, for sure.
Yeah, the odds probably don't reflect how close, you're right, how close it will be. With that, though, we'll have a quick talk about the Origin squads. Now, mostly untouched from Game 2. I know New South Wales are pretty well untouched in terms of the starting 17, but for us, for Queensland, the big talking point being Hemiso moving from centre to fullback there to replace Ponga, who's injured. So anyone that talks about the pick and stick shit there, I think, is off their heads. It's just throwing mud at the wall. But
always
I know
is, though.
he's been passive, very passive at times this year, Hemiso. But I think this is probably, it's do or die now for the state. But I think this is his time to shine, and I think he probably will stand up here. Which I'm pretty stoked to see.
After the game he had this last weekend, you'd think that that's going to carry on a little bit.
Exactly right. Yeah, he's got to be carrying some sort of confidence at least into camp there. So yeah, him, and then Gemat Shibasaki.
He also broke up with the missus, so he's ready to blast.
Oh hell no, I didn't hear about that. Bro, there's a fire lit under him. That's right. I'll show you. Alrighty. Yeah, and then Shibasaki taking his spot in the centres there. So good to see Shibasaki get a shot at this sort of level. He's, like we said, he's been stellar. He's been great this year, especially considering from where he's come or where he's been the last few years. Probably at odds with even playing rugby league anymore. And he finds himself on a training trial and playing for the state of Origin.
Unreal.
And the other
Unreal
one being,
story.
Exactly right. The other one being Josh Papali'i getting the call back up. One where he didn't, he sort of retired from rep footy last year or the year before, whenever it was, and he was a bit more unfit and out of form at that point. He was sort of almost looked like he might have been just playing out his last couple of days at the Raiders, but we've seen this year, and mind you, he's just announced this will be his last year at the Raiders, but we've seen a return to form like no other. Like young Papali'i really is fitter than I've seen him in a long time.
I was going to say the fitness is outstanding from him. He is.
Yeah.
The training staff must have done absolute wonders with him, because he is looking fantastic. He's playing fantastic, and he just seems more motivated to do literally everything on the field than he's ever has been before. Like he's even playing more minutes. 100%. It's outstanding.
And in a side with, like we spoke about earlier, with so many solid forwards and in great form this year, he's easily one of the standout ones, which, it speaks volumes, really, I think, for Papali'i there. But
I think he's also one of the only forwards to get a double in a game as well.
You're right. Yeah, you are right, definitely. On his 300th, I think it was. Or
on his 300th too, yeah.
Something, yeah, exactly right. So... but other than that, pretty well unchanged from Game 2 there. We see Reece Walsh as the 18th man, so should anything odd go down in the backs, we'll see a bit of a shuffle change, I imagine. But, I think, for me, I think this one's going to be a lot closer. I think we're going to see almost probably... the game be replicated of what Game 3 was last year, albeit up at Suncorp there. It was very low scoring, and it wasn't until right at the end New South Wales really clinched it. And was close for most of it, but I think it's going to be the same. I'm back in Queensland to get it done, but I just don't think there's going to be very many points in it. I think it's going to be very narrow, and I'd love for it to be by a couple missed kicks from Lomax or Cleary or someone. I really would, but I just
imagine if the kicking still wasn't fixed. Yeah. 2 Origins on.
Yeah, I have a feeling there probably just isn't going to be very many tries in this one.
It's going to be skimp, I reckon. It's going to be a very tough competition. No more than 2 tries each team, I reckon.
Yeah,
unless it's a blowout.
Exactly right. So, that's about it. I think. In terms of looking at that, was there anything that stood out for you for Origin?
For Origin, I think the big one for me is just going to be watching Shiba.
Yep.
I feel like I often come back to especially this year, obviously. But I often come back and go, why didn't my Gamut Shibasaki play like that when he was playing for the Cows? But
yeah,
it really just speaks volumes of how awesome the training program must be at the Broncos to make him turn into this. Like, he is a serious force to be reckoned with now in the center position.
Yeah, slotted in and just absolutely killed it. So
yeah, it's going to be awesome to see him come out and represent both, like all the nationalities and stuff like that. Like it's outstanding to see. It really is.
Yeah, most definitely. With that, though, we'll wrap up our bit of the preview segment. What we'll do is quickly jump into your try of the week, or maybe even try of the month at this stage, but try of the last week, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, we'll go try of the week and make it easy, because otherwise we could be here for a bit. But I think for me this week, it's got to be Kurt Donahue. And just an absolute epic little pluck out of the air, and off he runs for an 80-meter try, the big fella. So, in a game full of tries, and it wasn't just like a one-sided try. It was a game with nearly 80 points in it between both teams. So that's kind of wild in itself, if it is like for a game that wasn't fully one-sided. But for a game with, I think there was 12 tries or 13 tries in total. Yeah, it was an outstanding try, and it's always nice to see hookers. Especially, we're talking about big boys here. We're talking about people who can slot into front row if they need to, doing things that halves and wingers should be doing. It's just outstanding. I say it every week, and it's almost is every week a big boy doing it, doing the try of the week. It just truly, we've just got some athletic big boys in this game. It's fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, very nice. We'll jump into the fantasy buy of the week, rather, or buy of the month again at this stage. It's been a while since we've spoken about it, but for this week, we've got Jerome Hughes. Now, reason being, he was a little bit cheaper a couple of weeks ago when it would have been a little bit more ideal to pick him up. But right now, towards the end of the season, I think is where he's going to hit his straps. So last week, picking up 80 points in that absolute domination they had, the Storm. He was instrumental in that. But obviously moving forward this week, being without Munster and Grant, and, well, really Pappenhausen's still there, but they don't have that same combination. I think a lot of it's going to fall to him. The main point scoring is going to fall to him. So, I think he's going to be pumping out some big numbers this week again. But moving forward toward the end of the season, where the Storm really start to lock in, I think he's just going to be extremely instrumental in the Storm's domination. That, like we saw last year, where he had a stellar season, he picked up the Dally M. We saw him pick up the Dally M, but I just think he's going to be pick up in the halves position there, obviously. Still, he's 641k at the moment. He's about 600, or just under 600 last week. So if he can pump out another 50 to 70 points or something like that, he's going to put another around 40k on easily. So before he starts getting too expensive, definitely buy of the week, I think.
Epic.
Yeah, I think that's probably just about it. What we will do, though, the competition we advertised in the last podcast we did, I think, about a month ago for the Maroons hat. We'll draw that now. We've had a lot of people actually enter, which is pretty encouraging, even if, you know what I mean, even if they don't regularly listen, or albeit don't listen to the podcast at all. Good to see people getting involved in it there. So we've got everyone's comments of their favourite Origin star in here listed, so we'll just get that up ready and hit the wheel to spin that, and off it goes. So lucky winner is Cooper Hanna with Darren Lockyer. Darren Lockyer being his Origin player, favourite Origin player of all time, and I think we did see a fair few people with Lockyer there.
Understandable.
Probably pretty pivotal. I mean, for our age group anyway. That's definitely when we were on the younger side, or first sort of watching football and that. He was coming through and absolutely dominating. But definitely one of the goats for sure. In
100%.
Origin and at club level, and yeah, instead of being a Darren Lockyer, or short of being a Darren Lockyer fan club rather, we'd seen him start at fullback and absolutely turn his form around and dominate, but then move into 5/8 and do the same thing. So yeah, good stuff.
You could seriously put that guy anywhere and he'd play very well.
Yeah, exactly right. So that's good stuff, Cooper. I think you're one of many who admire the old Lockyer, but we will get that hat out to you just in time for Game 3. So hopefully you can rep that while the Maroons tie the series up and bring home the shield. But for this week, I think that's about it. There wasn't much more to discuss on your end, was there? Nothing pressing in the world of rugby league?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything we needed to. Congratulations, Cooper. That's an awesome pickup, man.
Good stuff. Very nice. And yes, thank you. Thanks to everyone else as well that entered. There'll be more in the future. We'll try and make them bigger and better each time, or maybe a little bit more inviting for New South Wales fans to join in on as well. But thanks for listening again. And next week we should be back to regularly scheduled programming, both of us in the same spot, and maybe debut of a little bit of a new studio, or studio as it were anyway. That's it for this week, and we'll talk to you again.